Do you want to live longer and better after 60? That question may seem simple, but the answer is much deeper than you imagine. Because living longer is not just about adding years. It's about waking up every morning with energy, with purpose, with excitement. It's being able to keep walking without pain, remembering clearly, enjoying a conversation without fatigue. It's having something to look forward to, something that makes you smile when you think about tomorrow. But if we're honest, many times we believe that at a certain age, nothing can change. I thought that too. I believed habits were like scars, things that stay with you forever. I thought everything I had done wrong was already done. That if I hadn't taken care of my body, if I hadn't learned to rest, if I swallowed too many emotions or forgot about myself, it was already too late. But I was wrong. It doesn't matter if you are 65, 70, 80 or older. Today is the best day to change. Because as long as you keep breathing, there is hope. And as long as there is hope, there is a path ahead. In this video, I'm going to tell you 3 things you must stop doing after 60 if you want to live longer and better. They are not strange things. In fact, you are probably doing them without realizing it. They are silent habits, small daily enemies that slowly steal your energy, health, and years of life without you noticing. But I also promise you something. Each of these habits can be reversed, and when you do, you start feeling it almost immediately. The desire, the clarity, the strength come back. It's like the body says, "Thank you for remembering me." You don't need money. You don't need to go to the doctor. You don't need miracles. You just need to listen to yourself and stop doing these 3 things. So stay with me until the end, because the third habit is the most common of all, and also the most dangerous. What I'm going to share with you can make the difference between a resigned old age or one full of freedom. And before continuing, I want to get to know you. How old are you? And from which country are you watching me? Leave me a comment. I love reading your stories because they remind me that we are not alone on this path. Shall we continue? Tag. They say the years fly by, and it's true. But it's also true that after 60, time changes shape. It's no longer about running after the clock like when we were young. Now every minute seems to carry more weight, more value. We live slower, yes, but we also live with more intention. It's as if everything we took for granted before, we now see with different eyes. The silence of the morning, a walk without hurry, a sincere conversation. Everything becomes more important. Why? Because after 60, you no longer live to get somewhere. You live to feel the journey. The body changes. We know that. It tires faster, reflexes are not the same, and some things that were simple before now cost twice as much. But it's not just the body that changes. The mind changes too. And the soul changes. The mind starts to let go of certain things. It no longer wants to compete. It no longer wants to prove anything to anyone. It seeks peace. It seeks clarity. And the soul? The soul starts to ask for different things. It no longer wants noise, masks, or rush. It wants truth. It wants authenticity. It wants space to breathe. It is a beautiful stage, but also fragile. And that is why what you do, and what you stop doing, has more impact than ever. Every decision counts double. Every habit multiplies its consequences, because the body no longer regenerates the same. Cells age, the immune system slows down, and the whole organism needs more help to stay strong. I'm not saying this to scare you. I say it because you still have time, because studies show it. Even at this age, when certain negative habits are abandoned, health improves, energy returns, and life expectancy can increase considerably. The problem is that many of these habits have been with us for so long that we no longer even notice them. They are small gestures, small attitudes, small routines that repeat every day and slowly wear down the body, the mind, and the spirit, like drops of water on a stone. That is why today we are going to talk about 3 things you need to stop doing after 60. Not to live forever, but to live with more presence, more strength, more freedom. Because there is still time to enjoy. There is still time to laugh, to learn, to connect. So open your eyes wide, because what comes next could mark a before and after. Let's start with the first one. Duh. First habit: sitting too long without moving. Maybe this sounds familiar. You wake up, have breakfast, then sit down to read, to watch television, or just to rest. And before you realize it, 2, 3, even 4 hours have passed in the same position. I don't feel like going out anymore. It's cold. My legs hurt. I have nothing to do outside. And little by little, the couch becomes a refuge, a routine, a prison. At a certain age, it's normal to feel that moving is harder, that everything requires more energy. But what many people don't know is that constant rest is not rest. It's deterioration. Sitting all day without moving, without activating the body, is one of the most dangerous habits for someone after 60. It sounds harsh, but it's real. Sitting is the new smoking. And we don't say this just as a catchy phrase. Doctors, researchers, and specialists in healthy aging say it. Why? Because the human body is made to move. The heart pumps better when we walk. Blood flows stronger when we use our legs. The brain receives more oxygen when we activate muscles. And every time we stretch the body, we also stretch life. The opposite also happens. When we spend too much time sitting, muscles begin to weaken and shorten, especially in the legs, which are the foundation of our mobility. Circulation slows down. The risk of clots, high blood pressure, and heart problems increases. Blood sugar regulation worsens. The metabolism becomes lazier. And worst of all, the mind is also affected. Because sedentarism not only ages the body, it also dulls the mind. Lack of movement reduces the production of endorphins, those hormones that make us feel good. We become more apathetic, more tired, more prone to sadness, insomnia, and memory loss. It's like a vicious circle. The less you move, the less you want to move. And the less you want, the more you stop. But here comes the good part. Breaking that circle is easier than it seems. You don't need to run marathons or go to the gym. Just start simple. An example? Set an alarm every hour and take at least 20 steps around the house. Go up and down a staircase once a day. Walk while you talk on the phone. Do some gentle stretches when you wake up. Walk to the corner instead of watching the news sitting down. Or even dance to one song every afternoon. It seems little, but it's not. Remember this: every time you get up from the couch, you are fighting aging. You are activating your body, your mind, and your life expectancy. It doesn't matter if today it's hard. Start by moving just a little more than yesterday, because the body does not give up when it ages. It gives up when we leave it still. In the next part, we will talk about the second silent habit many people after 60 repeat without thinking, and that also ages more than you imagine. Greg. I want to tell you a story that deeply marked me. Louis was 65 when he retired. He had worked all his life as a delivery man, always active, always moving, going up and down stairs, walking the streets, carrying boxes. For decades, his body stayed strong thanks to daily effort. But when retirement came, he thought he could finally rest. "I deserve it," he said. And of course, he did deserve it. But the problem was that rest became permanent. Days started to look alike. Breakfast, sit in front of the TV, take a nap, watch another program, dinner, bed. A routine without movement, without exercise, without intention. Months passed, and Louis was no longer the same. Knee pains began, then back pains. He got tired climbing stairs. He lost his appetite. His mood started to fade. He used to laugh loudly, make jokes. Now he spoke little. And the saddest thing, he started saying he felt useless. His family noticed he no longer wanted to go out, not even to the park, not even outside his front door. His body, which for years had been his tool, was now his prison. And it all started with something that seemed harmless: stopping moving. Luckily, Louis had a doctor who knew what was going on. He didn't just prescribe pills. He gave him a simple instruction. I want you to walk 15 minutes every day, nothing more. At first it was hard. His legs hurt. He was short of breath, but he did it. First, he walked just to the corner, then to the park, then he took a full lap. And as the days passed, something changed. His posture was different. His mood improved. The jokes came back. The desire came back. Today, at 73, Louis still walks every morning. He doesn't run. He doesn't lift weights. But he moves. And that has made all the difference. That's why I tell you sincerely, walking 15 minutes a day can change your life. You don't need to run. Just walk. Just move. Because every step you take is a signal to your body that you are still here, that you are still alive, that you haven't given up. And believe me, the body appreciates it. Now that we've seen the first habit that ages more than it seems, let's move on to the second. This one, unlike the first, has nothing to do with the body, but with what you let into your mind every day. And it's one of the most silent, but most harmful ones. Kink. Second habit, bottling up emotions and swallowing pain. There is something many older people do, not because they want to, but because that's what they learned. To be silent, to endure, not to bother, not to cry in public, not to talk about what hurts because it's already over, because there's no point stirring up the past, because I don't want to worry anyone. But that way of living has a price, and it's paid with the body. Because emotional pain that is not spoken about turns into illness. And that's not poetry. It's science. Every time you swallow unprocessed sadness, your body feels it. Every time you hide anger behind a forced smile, your blood pressure rises. Every time you keep silent to avoid conflict, you create one inside yourself. Because what is not said stays. And it weighs. It weighs on the chest. It weighs on the back. It weighs on the head. And it shows up as insomnia, chronic pain, lack of appetite, anxiety, unexplained fatigue. It's like carrying an invisible backpack every day. No one sees it, but you feel it. I want to tell you the story of Elvira. Elvira was one of those people who always said they were fine, even when they weren't. All good. Don't worry about me. I'm used to it. That's already in the past. But it wasn't true. She had lost her husband 10 years ago and never really spoke about her grief. She had a son she barely spoke to, but she said, he'll get over it. It hurt her that her grandchildren didn't visit, but she said, they have their lives. And every time she felt sad, she told herself she was strong. Until one day her body said enough. It wasn't a scream. It was a combination of small signals: headaches every morning, pressure in the chest without explanation, shortness of breath, a tiredness that didn't go away with sleep, and a sadness so deep it paralyzed her. After several medical tests that showed no clear physical cause, a doctor told her something she never forgot. What you have cannot be cured with pills. It is cured by talking. It was the first time someone didn't try to silence her pain, but invited her to express it. And that started a healing process. Not fast, not easy, but real. Because when an emotion is held inside too long, it ends up making you sick. And not just the body, but relationships, self-esteem, and hope to live fully. Do you know what is the most common thing I hear when an older person finally allows themselves to speak? I didn't know how much I needed to say this. I didn't know how long I'd been holding it in. I didn't know crying could relieve me. And bottling up pain doesn't make you strong. It makes you fragile inside. True strength is in speaking, in letting go, in allowing yourself to feel. Maybe today you are also carrying something you haven't told. An unresolved anger, a past guilt, a grudge that hasn't gone away. or simply a sadness that stayed to live with you. You don't need to shout it out, but you do need to release it, because every emotion you let go of is one less weight you carry. And every time you speak, the body thanks you. In the next part, we'll see what consequences this habit brings to health, mood, and how we relate to those we love most. And most importantly, how to start healing, even after 60. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and think about everything you've kept silent in your life. Words you didn't say out of fear of hurting. Truths you hid to avoid conflict. Pain you buried because there was no point talking about it anymore. Can you feel the weight? Many people have told me similar stories. A woman once told me, "I kept so many things to myself during my marriage that when he died, I didn't know if I was crying for his absence or for everything I never got to say to him." Another confessed, "I haven't spoken to my son in more than 10 years. Every birthday I want to call him, but pride wins, and the fear he won't want to listen." And a man with eyes full of tears told me, "I was hard on my parents. When they died, I realized I never told them I loved them, and now there's no one to say it to." That's what happens when we keep silent for years. Silence doesn't resolve, it only accumulates. And when the moment comes that it's too late, what remains is regret. But there is something you need to know and remember well. Speaking is not weakness, it is wisdom. Speaking with respect, truth, and an open heart is one of the most healing acts there is. You don't need to become someone who tells their whole life story to everyone, but you can seek safe spaces to express yourself. Here are 3 real, simple, and effective ways to start releasing what you carry inside. 1. Therapy or emotional support. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's never too late to sit in front of someone who truly listens, without judging, without interrupting, without minimizing your pain. A good conversation with a therapist can be the first step toward a lighter and healthier emotional life. 2. Writing. Write even if no one reads it. Write letters you will never send, journals no one will open. Write what you felt, what hurt, what you still don't understand. Ink and paper can become your best allies to cleanse what you carry inside. 3. Sincere conversations. With a friend, with a daughter, with someone you trust. Not to accuse, not to fight, just to share. A timely chat can avoid years of emotional distance. Sometimes a phrase like, "It hurt me when that happened," is more powerful than 1,000 accumulated silences. Because in the end, the words you don't say stay in the body. And over time, they turn into tension, illnesses, insomnia, blocked emotions. So please, don't let silence make you sick. Allow yourself to speak. Allow yourself to heal. Allow yourself to be human. In the next part, we'll talk about the 3rd habit. One that seems harmless but steals life over the years without you noticing, and that you still have time to leave behind. Tag. I remember perfectly when Mr. Manuel told me this phrase, "I stopped working, and I also stopped living." He was 66 years old. He had retired a few months before, and at first he was happy, sleeping in, no schedules, watching TV all day. But that joy didn't last long. One day he got up, sat in the armchair, and didn't know what to do. Days started to look alike. Nothing motivated him. He felt out of the world, as if the clock of his life no longer had a reason to keep ticking. And he wasn't alone. Many people at a certain age feel that their time has passed, that there is nothing important left to do, that the best they can do is wait. Wait for what? For the days to end? That is not living. That is simply being, without being. And I tell you something you should keep very present. The mind that stops ages faster than the body. No matter how old you are, what really keeps you alive is having something that excites you. But when there is no purpose, there is no drive. And when there is no drive, apathy, sadness, and lack of desire appear. Did you know that chronic boredom is linked to cognitive decline in older adults? People who stop having goals, challenges, or curiosity start experiencing more forgetfulness, slower thinking, more disconnection. The brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it weakens. That doesn't mean you have to go back to work or do exhausting things, but it does mean you need to keep having reasons to get up in the morning. A woman I met at a writing workshop told me a phrase I loved. "Since I retired, my job is to discover what makes me feel good. That is my new job." And that can be yours too. Having a purpose is not the same as having an obligation. It can be taking care of your garden. It can be learning to play an instrument. It can be helping others with your experience. It can be writing your memoirs to leave your story to your family. Do you know what older people who live longer and happier have in common? They all have something to get up for every day. A reason, a dream, a small project, even if it only matters to themselves. Because what gives life meaning is not age, it is intention. So ask yourself, what would make you feel useful again? What activity did you leave unfinished and could resume now? What cause matters to you enough to dedicate a few hours a week? I assure you, if you find that spark, no matter how small, you will notice your energy start to return, how your mood improves, how your body also responds, because where the mind goes, the body follows. And if your mind decides to move again, your whole life will do the same. In the next part, I'll tell you how a person recovered their sense of purpose after losing everything, and how you can reinvent yourself, no matter how old you are. Zhang. I met Clara when she was 75, a woman with white hair, a soft voice, and eyes that, although tired, were still searching for something. She had lived alone for years. Her children had moved far away, and her husband had passed away some time ago. She spent her days sitting by the window, watching the seasons change, without anything changing inside her. One day, at a community center talk, someone asked, "What would you do if you only had 6 months left to live?" Clara didn't answer out loud, but that night she couldn't sleep. And then she remembered. When she was a child, she loved to draw. She spent hours with colored pencils, creating worlds on white sheets. But life, as it often does, took her down another path. The next morning, she went to a stationery store, bought a notebook, some pencils, and some watercolors. That afternoon, she painted again. The first weeks her hands trembled, her drawings were clumsy, but inside, something began to awaken. A few months later, she enrolled in an art workshop for older adults. At 80, she organized her first local exhibition, and today, her works hang in libraries, cafes, and friends' homes who never imagined that Clara, the quiet lady, had so much to say, without words. That is the magic of purpose. It's not something that comes from outside. It's something you rediscover inside yourself, and you can do it too. You don't need grand gestures to be famous or to make money. You just need to do again what made you lose track of time, what made you smile without realizing it. Here are some ideas. If you like reading, join or start a book club. If you always like teaching, offer your experience. Give talks, teach reading, share what you know. If helping moves you, volunteer, listen to others, accompany those who are alone. If you have creative hands, paint, sew, cook, write. Create something that represents you. And if you don't know where to start, just try new things. Sometimes purpose is not found. It's built. Ask yourself this question: what activity would make me feel more alive this week? Do it, even if only once, because every little step towards something that excites you is a step back toward yourself. Remember this phrase, and please never forget it. The day you stop dreaming, you start dying, and you still have dreams. You just need to listen to them again. In the next part, I'll give you a summary of these 3 habits, and I'll show you how to start changing your course today, no matter how old you are, because it's always time to live better. Chang, We have talked about 3 things that, if you keep doing after 60, can shorten not only your years, but the quality of your life. First, we talked about the habit of sitting too long without moving. It may seem harmless, but it's like turning on a silent timer toward deterioration. The body that isn't used weakens, and over time, that weakness becomes dependency, diseases, and loss of autonomy. Second, we saw the harm caused by swallowing emotions. Being silent for years, out of fear, habit, or not wanting to bother, ends up affecting the health of the soul, and the body too. What is not said does not disappear. It stays inside, in the form of anxiety, sadness, or illnesses no one can see, but you can feel. Third, we touched perhaps the most invisible of all, living without purpose. When you stop having projects, when you stop having something that excites you to wake up, the world becomes grey, even if full of colour. The mind that is not challenged shuts down, and with it, the spark that kept you alive inside goes out. But here comes the most important of all. It is never too late to change. Not even after 60, not even after 70, not even after 80. Age is not a barrier. It's just a number that reminds us every day is more valuable. And if you made it this far, it's not to give up, but to live with more intention. Old age is not a sentence. It is a new stage. And like any stage, you can choose how to walk it. Will it be a stage of resignation or a stage of transformation? That path is yours to choose. Today, perhaps for the first time in a long time, you have stopped to think about yourself, about what you are doing and what you could stop doing. And that is already the first step. In the last part of this video, I want to leave you with a seed. A simple but powerful question. One that could give you the push to start again, with more strength, more awareness, and more life. Tonk. Maybe today you can't go back in time. Maybe too many years have already passed. But do you know what? You can still make the years you have left count, because it's not just about living more years. It's about making every year worth it. That every morning is not a repetition of the previous one, but a new opportunity. That your body is not a cage, but your means to keep walking, even if slowly. That your silence does not become a burden, but shared words. That your soul is not waiting for something to happen, but creating something that still excites you. You are not here by chance. If you made it to the end of this video, it's because something inside you is still searching. And that is beautiful. That is the most human thing there is, wanting to keep growing, even when the world seems to tell us it's no longer necessary. But it is necessary, because you matter. Your steps matter. Your voice, your decisions, your dreams, no matter how small they seem, still matter. And now I want to ask you a question. Which of these 3 habits do you recognize in your life? Have you been sitting too long? Do you hold words that weigh? Have you stopped having a clear purpose? Which one will you leave behind today? Write it in the comments, not just for me, but for you. So it's said. So change can begin. And if this message touched your heart, if it reminded you that you are not alone, if it made you think of yourself with more kindness, subscribe. Share this video, not for me, but for you, and for someone who maybe needs to hear it, even if they don't say it. Because sometimes the only thing it takes to start again is a voice that reminds you that you still have time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. And above all, thank you for not giving up. See you in the next video. Until then, keep living with intention, because you deserve a life that not only lasts, but makes you feel alive.